in your teens and you're collecting records, were you playing at that point? Were you actually DJing?
Only school discos and house parties. So someone would have a house party and they'd tell me to bring their records. I'd stand in the corner of the house party in the front room playing records, and all my mates were getting off. Yeah, all my mates were getting off with girls. And then I realised that's a bit of a loser's game. But no, seriously, DJs weren't taken that seriously then. They were just somebody who had records, and I had records, and I'd play in the youth club and the school disco, you know, because you know, I loved playing records. It was just that simple.
Did you feel like it was going to go somewhere?
No, not in a million years. I mean, when I went to college, I did play at school discos at college as well. I had to mix it up a bit more. I couldn't sort of stand up and play my reggae selection. But you know, I Can Tina Turner, River Deep Mountain High, you know, Carly Simon or whatever. You know, maybe even Hi Ho Silver Lining, but if I had to. But no, I didn't take it seriously. It was just, I quite enjoyed it. But if you'd said to me then that I was going to be a DJ, I'd have laughed at you. I didn't see it as having any future. I didn't visualize myself as a professional DJ, not at all. I just, you know, it wasn't there. I just had fun when I was young doing it, and then it kind of, it just grew out of a desire to share music, really. Being a DJ is just somebody who has a terrible crush on something and he wants to share it with other people. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. So you went from there to something you don't talk about much. You did a bit of acting.
Yeah, I don't. Well, because it speaks for itself, really. I did want to be in the Royal Shakespeare Company. I did love theatre. I did want to become an actor. I'd experienced it at school, and I'd done a couple of school plays. And the head of English said to me, you know, you could do this professionally if you want to. I believe you have the talent. And everyone, including my parents, said, oh no, you never get a job. So I did economics for a year and absolutely hated it. And that summer of '69, I sent off, 69 to 70, I sent off for auditions at drama schools, and I was offered a position at Rose Bruford and at East 15 Acting School. And I chose Rose Bruford, which is a dual acting teaching course. So I did 3 years of teaching practice as well, and then was trained to become a professional actor with voice and speech, of course, and movement, and then was actually offered a position at Orpington Boys School, and at the end of that year, because I had a really good teaching practice there, and I was so close to taking it, and then I'd auditioned for a theatre company in the north of England called Theatre North, a touring company, and they offered me a position that was then known as acting stage manager. So you were a stage manager, but you also acted. And I thought, I'd best do this now with no responsibilities on 18 quid a week, which is what it was. And I never looked back, really. I continued in the theatre, mainly in the north of England. Then I came down to Deptford and worked at the Deptford, a combination at the Deptford Empire. Oh, I think it's called what it's called now. Anyway, it's gone a blank on the name. But I joined the combination company in Deptford, at the Albany Empire in Deptford. And that was mid-70s, and I did a bit of telly and a bit of film and bits and bobs. And then I was offered an audition at Radio London to do a reggae show. And I did the audition, and I got the gig. And it all sort of changed from there, really.
So the audition was offered. I mean, I'm guessing if they wanted you to do a reggae show, you'd obviously, people knew that you collected reggae.
Yeah, well, what it wasn't me, it was my girlfriend who I was living with at the time. And I said to her, oh, you know, Steve Barnard was the presenter and he was leaving, and we were listening to it one day, every Sunday lunchtime. And they said, oh, we're looking for new presenters. If you'd like to present the programme, then you need to send in a letter. And I didn't think any more about it. She sent a letter, and an audition came back, and she said, you've got an audition at BBC Radio London. I got it for you, I wrote the letter. So I went down and I did the audition, and they stopped it after 15 minutes, and they said, it's very interesting, Mr. Rodigan, but you're the wrong colour. We're not a black presenter. I said, fair enough. And then I left, and what they actually did was they played that interview to a number of black music producers and record company bods in the reggae world, and apparently they said, you should use that guy. They didn't know I was white. So I got the show with a black presenter called Tony Williams and myself, and that was I was actually working at the Albany Empire in Deptford then, during the week, performing in plays, and I did that Sunday lunchtimes, and that was 1978. So that's where the radio thing kicked in, and then Capital Radio heard it and asked me to leave Radio London and join them to do a Saturday night show. And then for 11 years it was me and Greg Edwards, a Saturday night. Robbie Vincent on Radio London on Sunday lunchtimes, and me and Greg on a Saturday night. There was no pirate radio, it was just, that's how it was. It was a very different world.
I was wondering why you weren't in Babylon.
What was I going to do in Babylon? I've stopped acting. I made a decision a number of years ago to just completely stop. My agent said, when my wife was carrying our second child, he said, it's time to make a decision. You're either going to be a full-time actor or you're going to have full-time radio. And KISS had offered me a position broadcasting for them full-time leading up to September 1990. And I figured, with a second child to support, perhaps I should consider something a bit more consistent. And the DJing had taken off, and I'd really enjoyed Capital Radio. So I stopped doing any acting once I took a full-time position at KISS. I was doing daytime for almost 10 years. And I said goodbye to the wonderful world of powder me down, makeup, you know, the whole sort of theatrical experience, which I'd spent many years doing and thoroughly enjoyed. And I've moved on, you know. But if I was offered a bit part with Joe Pesci, and I might accept it.
Pesci specifically, or?
No, I mean, I love, one of my all-time favourite movies is Casino. I just think that De Niro and Pesci and that are just brilliant. Sharon Stone, and you know, we all have our favourite movies. You know. Pesci is just the most phenomenal actor, I think. You know, brilliant.
Let's touch on KISS quickly.
Yeah.
Because you finally left the halls of KISS FM.
I have, after 22 years. It was very sad. Yeah. It wasn't something I wanted to do. I was very loyal to the station. I joined them proudly, having left Capital Radio and been given a blessing by Richard Park at Capital Radio, who said, I think it's absolutely the right thing for you to do. And I joined when Gordon Mack invited me to join, and I saw all the transitions and changes. Some of them I didn't like, and I particularly didn't like the fact that a lot of the specialist shows were being shunted into the wee small hours of the morning. But the reason I had to live with that, and I know that the other specialist presenters had to live with it, was because that radio stations run on commerce, and they run on sales based on audience figures. So I know how the game works. I know I've been in it long enough. And I know that specialist shows by their very nature are specialist. But in the end, I found it unacceptable that listeners who wanted to listen to specialist forms of music, particularly in my case reggae, were not able to do so until after midnight, which is when the show was rescheduled for in November. And I objected, and I was told, politely informed, that people could still listen again on the iPlayer, which of course they could. And I thought, well, okay, I'll live with that, I guess, because that's true, and people's listening habits have changed. And then the more I thought about it, I just thought, no, I think I have to make a stand on principle. That if music is good enough to be aired on the radio, then it's good enough for it to be played at a time once a week when the vast majority of the people who like that kind of music could listen to it. And I'm talking about socially acceptable listening times, not socially unacceptable listening times, which I refer to, with all due respect to late night broadcasters, as the twilight zone of broadcasting, because I didn't think that was fair on the audience or on the music. And given the fact that KISS was created in order to play urban music in all its forms, I felt that although we were chasing audiences and had to pay bills, and I know that to be true, nevertheless there could be more room given to specialist programming being on at a time that was socially acceptable to most people. And I decided on a point of principle that I should resign, and I did so.